But like, assuming somebody came and they were like, "Well, actually, your microphone sucks. There's not really any reason for it, anyways." That would be a pretty simple conflict. It's a difference in opinion, and for by design, right? The next definition is that it's rooted in internal desires and passions, not just external disagreements. So when you think about it, every conflict that you have, whether it is like a big deal or if it's something small or if it's like whatever it may be, your conflict is going to be rooted in the root. It's going to have um internal desires. Like if you feel like, oh, this is just a conflict about this person here and this person here, it really does have something to do with you if you're in the mix of it. So when we think about conflict, when we think about this thing that we're facing, we have to also realize that it didn't start with us, right? Like you're like when we're talking about conflict, when we're facing conflict, when we are having a hard time with it, we have to realize that it didn't start with us. I want to ask you a question. Who here knows where the first conflict was?
Adam and Eve?
Adam and Eve. And then the second conflict, where was the second conflict in the Bible? Who, or like ever recorded pretty much?
When
No answer key over here.
when Adam like lies?
Yeah,
Is
well,
that
okay, yes. Kind of the same.
Oh,
And that's,
their kids?
whoa,
Oh my god. It's like Cain and Abel.
yes, Cain and Abel. That, like, who remembers what happened with Cain and Abel?
They
Just kidding. Anybody else? Anybody else know what happened?
well, they were brothers.
They were brothers.
See, what say Cain got jealous.
Boom. Cain got jealous of Abel. Then what happened?
He murdered him.
He murdered.
Oh my god.
That's the end of the story for them. Cain murdered Abel. It wasn't really a pretty story. It wasn't a great thing. That was not a good conflict. And at the end of the day, we look back and we see that conflict roots back like thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And so for thousands of years, people have been struggling with conflict. People have been afraid of conflict. People have been mean in conflict. All of these problems that we face. And so for thousands of years, people have been getting it wrong. And so what we have is this big pool of stuff that we can learn from. And so we're going to look at some, like we're gathering information for thousands of years and like how can we best handle and communicate through conflict. And guys, this is a important thing. I don't know how you rate yourself with conflict. Like, do you think that you're healthy or not? But a sign of spiritual maturity is actually handling conflict well. Like a sign, like healthy conflict resolution is a mark of a spiritually healthy person. If you are spiritually healthy, you are going to handle conflict in a way that is also healthy. Like you're not going to be super spiritually wise and like advance in your walk with the Lord if you are handling people angrily or you're running away from them. There's a very healthy and right way to look at this, and that's what we're going to do today. But also, like we want to look at what kind of leads up to a conflict. There's three things. So everybody say three things.
Yeah.
This is like a weird format without a microphone. I don't know. I'm just thinking about that, right? Isn't it kind of weird? I don't know. It's weird for me. I don't know. But there's three things. Number one, everybody say number one.
Number one.
How are you louder than me? Number one.
Number one.
That was great. Um, lack of community. So like maybe you're the person that you don't know how to handle conflict well, because you're not around people enough to learn like how they operate and you don't have community. Not like maybe you do have people around you and they don't have the unity and community where they will go and uplift you and actually correct you in certain ways when you are off course. Like maybe you have good friends around you, but they're not good enough to tell you when you're doing something wrong, right?
True.
So that's one. Everybody say number two
Number
Two.
2.
is avoidance. It's looking at conflict and thinking, I just don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to like be a part of that. I just like I want to just leave it. It's too much. It's too big, or it's just I don't want to deal with it right now. I'm too tired. Whatever it is, avoiding communication is a big problem in conflict. And then the last one is cheap grace. And cheap grace. Like if you know what grace is, it's kind of like forgiving or just being if you're graceful, you're kind and you're merciful and you forgive people. And cheap grace is forgiving without seeking true resolution. Cheap grace is saying, yeah, I forgive you. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. No, 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 it's no worries. No, no, no. I don't really like your friend like really hurt you, but you're just like, no, 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 you're fine. I forgive you. You're fine. Like, yeah, don't worry. And you don't do anything to actually fix the problem. So the problem stays, and then conflict happens again. So this is not in your notes. This is not in like what you're gonna be writing down, but this is something that I found to be like really an important distinction that I want to put in right here is that when you're in a conflict, so maybe you can write it down. It's not about who wins. Like you, if you're the avoider, you might just be like, I don't really care who wins anyways. Um, but if you are losing a conflict, it doesn't mean that you lost the argument. It means that you lost the opportunity to grow. Because every single conflict is an opportunity. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But what I want you to know is that conflict is not about who wins because you both lose if you lose the relationship. All right. So the reason like you want to think about this and the way that you want to be facing this is that you're not at all looking at conflict as like how can I change this person. You're not looking at conflict as what can I do to make this person a different person, because the truth is you can't change yourself and you can't change other people either. There's only one person that can do that. Who knows who that is?
The
God,
Lord.
the Lord. Yeah, God.
Not
Like
the-
like we're not the ones who made people. So how can we be the ones who change people? God's the one who does that, and sometimes He uses you and me as an instrument. But the truth of the matter is that you are just an instrument. God is the craftsman. And so when you're working, whenever you're doing, whenever you're in a conflict, yeah, what's up?
Isn't this like just what you also great to see?
Yeah, yeah, kind of a similar topic to last week. If you don't remember, last week we were kind of talking more about evangelism. So in that same sense, God is the worker, and we just get to be part of it, right? Um, that's a good connection. Thank you. So I'm gonna give you a biblical example, and I think we actually talked about this like a month or two ago. So if you remember from that message, how many of you guys remember Paul? By show of hands in the Bible, Paul. Should be like most of you guys in the room.
What am I reading here?
Do you
He's so big. Sorry.
remember who Paul is?
I know Paul is.
Paul, right, right. Who's Paul who's the Paul I'm talking about? The apostle?
In the Bible. What?
Yeah, okay. Give me something about it. What's something about Paul? What do we think? What do we think? You got nothing? Come on, man. You got something. All right, what you got?
He wasn't he was Paul turned it Saul turned into Paul.
Boom. That's true. That's true.
He used to kill Christians, and then God blinded him, made him into Saul or Paul, and then he started going and sharing the Lord
Yeah.
to everyone around him.
And I think what's really cool about Paul as well is that he was like like if anybody who's ever been a missionary looks at Paul and they're like, he's the best. Like Paul is the best missionary ever, like undisputed champion. He is the one that shared the gospel with the most amount of people ever. Like he is the one who started a lot of churches. He went around and he traveled and he had his missionary journey. and he was known as being discerning and wise, and yeah, and so he was great. But at the same time, do you guys remember who Barnabas is? What
I
is
heard
it?
his name, but I don't.
You remember the name?
I remember the name, but I don't remember the story. If you say the story, huh?
What?
No.
No, say it. There's not any wrong answers. You're good.
I didn't know what I was gonna say.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Barnabas, does anybody remember?
Didn't we talk about Paul?
Probably. Paul and Barnabas, they were friends. I don't remember actually. I don't know. Paul and Barnabas were friends. Yo, you got
Did Barnabas get stoned?
I don't know, maybe. He might have gotten some. Actually, I should check on that. But Paul and Barnabas were friends. And there was also this guy named John Mark. And if you remember the story, pretty much what happens is Paul and Barnabas are on their journey, and then Barnabas is like, "Yo, let's bring my homie Mark with us. Let's go on this journey together. Yo, you, me, and Mark, we're gonna join forces. We're gonna get this journey together." And pretty much Paul was like, "Nah, bro, nah. Mark left me last time on my missionary journey, and I really don't trust him." And so, like, Barnabas is this guy that was actually Paul's mentor. He taught Paul, and he stood up for Paul when a lot of people were like, "No, he used to kill Christians. We're not trusting him." Barnabas was the guy that was like, "Guys, like the Lord worked in his life. We can use him, right?" And so we have Paul and we have Barnabas, and they split. Barnabas goes his way with Mark, and then Paul goes his way. Um, and they go in separate directions. Uh, what we read about this, what we understand about this, is that there are like these definite um there are definite conflicts that we face in the Bible, and like with every person, including us. And so what this illustrates is like this clash where they go their own directions, but what it also says is nothing about them speaking poorly about one another. Like Paul's like, no, we're not gonna go together. But at the same time, he doesn't go around and say, hey, this Barnabas guy, this Mark guy, they suck. No, he's still uplifting them later on in scripture. Like if you look later on in scripture, you'll see that they are actually uplifting one another. Now, that's an example of conflict, but here's the thing. Um, there is a conflict with another believer when it involves sin. So you guys, um, how you guys are going to face conflict all the time. You guys are going to have people, maybe it's like your sister, maybe it's your brothers, maybe it's your friends, maybe it's your parents, whoever it is, you're going to be facing conflict. And sometimes that conflict is going to be because they've done something like genuinely wrong, or they've sinned, or they've wronged you or somebody else, and you need to call them out. Sometimes when that happens, there's a very like laid out perfectly in scripture in Matthew chapter 18. If you guys want to look at that or mark it in your Bibles, um, it's a great place to look if you're like, how do I navigate this? But it pretty much lays out exactly what we're supposed to do. Um, it says first that you go and you tell your friend, like, hey, what you're doing is wrong. This is actually a really important step because if you have a friend who's actively doing something wrong, that's not just going to hurt other people around them, that's hurting that person. And as a friend, you have to be the one that calls them out for it. Like, even if maybe you're not the best at it, you can say, hey, I saw you engaging in this. I saw you looking at this thing. I saw you speaking in this way. I saw you doing this thing. And maybe I don't do it very well, but let's work together to do better in this because this isn't right. And so that's an important step. And if they don't listen, it's the next step is to bring somebody else with you, somebody who's wiser, somebody who you trust. And then that person, you two go to that person. And if they still don't believe you, if they still don't listen, you bring in your church leadership, like somebody like me or somebody like Mr. Paul when he comes back, or somebody to help navigate that conflict a little better. But no matter what, you forgive the person that has wronged you. Like no matter what, holding on to bitterness, holding on to hurt is only going to be hurting you. It's not going to be hurting that person. So Colossians 3:13 says, "Bear with each other and forgive one another. If anyone has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you." Forgiveness doesn't mean that you have to like keep the person as close as they have been. Like when I was young, I had a friend who would actually bully me a lot. And I didn't realize that's what he was doing because he was my only friend. And I grew up with him and he was like my first friend that I have ever met. But he was a bully and he was mean. And all the time he would bully me and I just kind of took it because I thought that's just what you're supposed to do. And it was kind of sad because he was my only friend. And so what ended up happening is there came a time where I had to confront him and he didn't listen. And I confronted him again and then he just wouldn't listen. And eventually what ended up happening is I forgave him and we don't have a bad connection, but at the same time, I don't see him ever. Like I never see him anymore because he was a bully and he hasn't changed his ways. And so it's okay to forgive somebody, but also hold some boundaries with that person. You don't have to stay close with people. That's just an important distinction that you have to have there. And Paul and Barnabas, going back to that, is they have a strong ministry even after their conflict. And the way that they handled it is very much like Romans 12:17-21. I'm going to read it to you. It says, "Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, 'It is mine to avenge. I will repay,' says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." Paul and Barnabas have been commended by brothers to the grace of God, meaning they didn't let conflict hurt their character. Like they didn't let this hurt who they believe themselves to be. Like they didn't say, "Oh, this person said this about me, and now I have to live with that as my new truth." They didn't take that pain on themselves. And they also didn't say something really bad about someone else just because they had a disagreement. Like they held in a good place and they left on a good place. So now I want to look at some unhealthy approaches to gossip. And in doing this, you guys have it on your notes. I want you to hold your paper. I want you to look at your paper. We're about to run through these. Um, if you resonate with any of them, because this paper is for you, it's only for you, it's not for me, it's not for anybody else. But if you resonate with some of these things, I want you to just like put a circle next to it. So number one is gossip. Gossip is one of the most detrimental things in a relationship. And a lot of the time you don't see that it's gossip, you just experience it. So gossip can destroy a friendship or a relationship or whatever it is. Gossip can absolutely hurt and diminish and destroy whatever it is. If you have a friend who is gossiping, I just want to like give you a quick tip. That person is also talking about you behind your back. Yep. If you have somebody in your life, I'm going to say that again. If you have somebody in your life who you know to be somebody who gossips, understand and know that no matter how close you think you are with that person, they're also talking about you behind your back. That is the truth. And if you're somebody who like actively gossips, you can look at yourself and be like actually examine yourself. Do I talk about other people behind my back? Because that's a dangerous place to be. So that's number one. Um, Number two is not communicating at all. So this is like a bad response to a conflict. And some of you guys are like, dude, I'm a genius. I just ended this conflict. I just didn't say anything. Like, yeah, like my mama used to tell me, like, if you don't got something nice to say, don't say it. Yeah, you guys know it. Yeah, right. Okay. If you don't got something nice to say, don't say it at all. Yeah. So that's what my mom used to tell me. And so I would just not face a conflict. I would be like, yeah, I don't really got anything nice to say. I'm just not saying anything. That's actually wrong. Yeah. Yeah. That's actually wrong. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help the person. If you are being hurt by someone, you have to tell them. If you are avoiding something, you have to get the courage in your heart and your spirit to be able to go and approach that person. It's an important step. And if you're not communicating, you feel like you're a peacekeeper. This is an important distinction. A peacekeeper and a peacemaker are two very different things. Okay? A peacekeeper and a peacemaker are two very different things. Some of you guys feel like, I'm just going to keep the peace. I don't want to say anything. Some of you guys have a friend who like talks really badly about other people behind their back, and you're just like, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to. I don't want to like start anything. I don't want to start a problem with them. I'm not going to say anything because, it's too much. By doing that, you are not making peace. You're like keeping peace, and it's not good. What would be a peacemaker of you to do is to tell that friend, like, hey, I don't like the way that you're talking about this person. It's not good. Like, it's as simple as saying, like, it's not good to be talking about someone like that. And they might come to you and they might be like, well, like the other day you were talking about this person like this. You might think to yourself, well, that's really defeating. I was. But the thing is, you and I are constantly in this place of being redeemed and renewed by Christ. And you have to be at a place for yourself where you're like ready to change all the time. You have to be ready and willing to make the change in your life. And in doing that, you can approach that friend and say, yeah, maybe I was doing that. That maybe I did do that. Maybe I did say that. But at the same time, I'm going to be better and I want to be better with you. Now, everybody say number three.
Number three.
That was perfect. Thank
That was
you.
dumb.
That was great. This is something that is gotten pretty popular in the last like 5 years, I think. So when y'all are pretty young, this kind of a merge of like cutting people off. Y'all ever done that before?
Did somebody?
No, like cutting them off like completely like in a relationship.
Yeah.
Like maybe you broke up with somebody, or maybe you had a friend that you're like, this friendship ended terribly. I'm cutting them off. Have you ever been there? Have you ever been there? I've done that. There's actually you've done that. I've been there. I've been there. It's good to be honest. It's good to be honest.
Yeah, but too.
Or like canceling someone or like cutting them off. That seems not common. So not many of you guys have said you've cut someone off before. But how many of you have been cut off by somebody else? I have been. And like, I don't know about you, but it hurts. If you ask anybody who's been cut off by somebody, it hurts. It's like such a betrayal. And it doesn't communicate to that person like, oh, they probably just moved on. It communicates to them that you just don't care about them.
Yeah.
And so cutting people off is never a nice thing to do. Being clear in your communications always what's best. And the last one that not everybody here does, but I'm sure some of you guys do, is revenge. Like, yeah, you feel like you've got to level the playing field. Like, you hurt me, I've got to hurt you twice as hard. Like, if you said this about me, I'm gonna go say this about you, like 10 to 10 other people. Like you feel like you are the one that has to take revenge. Let me read to you Leviticus 19:18. It says, do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against anyone amongst your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. I think what's cool about that is that he doesn't just say like, you should do this. You should not take revenge on your neighbor. You should love your neighbor. because you should. He says, do this because I am the Lord and I'm commanding you to. I'm telling you to. You have to forgive your neighbor. You have to forgive the person who's hurt you. Um, and so now, since we're kind of getting a little bit short on time here, what we're going to move on to is a little bit of a test. Okay. We're going to go into a little bit of like a test for yourself. Here's the thing, guys. There isn't a right answer on this. You have A, B, and C. There's not a right answer. But what it is like for you to self-examine yourself. How would I most likely respond to this? And that's how we're gonna do this. So I'm just gonna read you the situation, and you are going to circle whichever one it is, and you don't have to tell anybody. It's just like me and myself. This is what I feel like I would do. So here's the situation. How would you react to this conflict? Let's say that you're volunteering at Waterstone Kids, so you're there on Sunday. There's only a couple of kids in the classroom, and your friend is in the corner on their phone. You know they're not supposed to be on their phone, so you tell them to get off, and they say you did the same thing last week. All right? You have three options. You either A, get upset at them and tell them that you're going to tell the teacher what you did. So you're gonna be like, hey, get off your phone. I'm gonna go tell Miss Goody Goody and she whatever her name is, I don't know. B, you leave the room and ignore them for the rest of the day. So you don't tell them, like, just put what you're most likely to do. And then C, you say, no, I was allowed to be on my phone. You just forgot the rules. So that's A, B, and C. Yeah. No, so just take a moment, circle whichever one you feel like was you. Circle whichever one you feel like is you. All right, everybody got a circle? Put your thumb up if you have. Thumb up, thumb up.
What first?
If you got it, my boy.
I just beat.
Hey, y'all.
Y'all got it?
I guess.
You guys? Yeah, okay.
That's
No, you don't answer a lot. You don't answer a lot. This is for me to tell you, like, these are your results, right? So, like, y'all just pretty much submitted your personality quiz. I'm going to tell you what your results are. Okay. If you answer A, no, you're literally exposing yourself to yourself, bro. It's like, it's nobody else.
I
feel time.
Okay. If you answered A, you may be conflict aggressive. You value power and security. You view conflict as an opportunity to take control of a situation. But that also means your words and your anger can cause pain and damage to relationships. Now, if you answered B, you may be conflict avoidant. You value being loved and accepted, but often to the detriment of your own opinion or things that you need to be stood up for. Okay. If you answered C, you may be conflict defensive. You value influence and are afraid of being criticized. Your view of conflict is as an opportunity to persuade. This also means that you have a hard time maintaining relationships through conflict. So, there's benefits. Like, I didn't just have you do this so you could be like, man, I'm conflict defensive. That's who I am for the rest of my life. That's not what we did this for, okay? The reason is because there's a benefit to you guys knowing this about yourself. Now, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm not just gonna leave you with your results and like walk away. Here's where I want all eyes on me. If you are in one of these sections, here's a prayer. Here's something that you can be looking for as a response, okay? So, if you can be conflict aggressive, pray that the Lord would make you slow to anger and slow to speak, and try to take deep breaths before holding a conversation. This is like legit applicable advice for you moving forward. If you tend to be avoidant in conflict, pray that the Lord would give you strength to speak what is on your heart, and know that you are always loved by God no matter what. and that things can improve when you are open about the issue. Lastly, if you tend to be defensive in conflict, pray that the Lord would give you humility and peace to understand the other person and try to listen more than you speak.
Mhm.
You guys got that?
Mhm.
All right. Very good. God is going to help you through this, but remember, it isn't you that changes yourself. It's God that changes you through your willingness to be changed. Are you willing to be changed tonight? That's the question. Are you willing to be changed? No. Here's three truths. Conflict is inevitable. Y'all seen Thanos? He says, I am inevitable. Conflict is inevitable. All right. Conflict is inevitable. It's going to happen. If you haven't faced it like really terribly yet, let me tell you the truth. Anybody who's over the age of like 18 can tell you that you are going to face tremendous amounts of conflict.
Fact.
And you're like, it's inevitable. Conflict is necessary. This is like this is the important part. Conflict is not just a bad thing. Conflict actually breeds closeness. What does that mean? If you are never going to fight or you're never going to have a disagreement about somebody, that person in your life is probably fake. If you never have a problem with anybody, if you never talk about yourself or your issues or what you're going through, then you are robbing yourself of the opportunity. And that's number 3, that conflict is an opportunity. Conflict is an opportunity for you to grow. Conflict is an opportunity for you to understand yourself and others more. If you are avoiding conflict, you are robbing yourself of the ability to grow. Now, I want to tell you something that the FBI does. Yeah. So it turns out that's basically my mom. That's hilarious.